is up, guys? My name is Kellen. Today we're going to be talking about a question that I get asked pretty frequently. But before I get too into that, I just want to thank you guys for joining me for a couple minutes today. We're trying to hit 10,000, so if you guys could drop a subscribe down below, it'd really help us out. Now the question I get a lot is the 350Z a good first car? I now own a 2005 Nissan 350Z, but let me clarify that it was not my first car. It was actually probably my third or fourth. I kind of wanted a 350Z, but I really wanted a 240. And in this market, it almost makes more sense to get a Z at this point. Actually, scratch that. It makes more sense to get a Z at this point over a 240 by a long shot. For price, power, reliability, you're just going to get a much better 350Z for the same price than you will a 240. That being said, though, they weren't $5,000 when I got mine. I got mine like 2 or 3 years ago now, and they were not as cheap as they are now. But now that they are, I get the question a lot, is it a good first car? And the simple answer I'd say is yes. But they do have a little bit more power than I had on my first car, that's for sure. My first car was a 77 Buick Skylark. I would not necessarily recommend that as someone's first car. Although it was a lot of fun, I did miss out on creature comforts such as airbags, air conditioning, stuff like that. Whereas the 350Z does accommodate those, which is pretty cool. Now, for driving manual, the 350Z is a 6-speed, which means the gearing's a little bit quicker than a 5-speed. Not in a noticeable difference, but it is a little bit faster. So, would it take any getting used to? I think with anything, if you drive stick for about a week, you'll probably get used to it and be fine with it. You can find them for decently cheap. Like I said, I've said this in multiple videos and I get a lot of people disagreeing with me. You can find a 350Z in decent shape for $5,000 or less, honestly. I just walked outside, by the way, to come out here and I'm already sweating buckets. Not complaining about the heat. I'll take the heat any day over the cold, but is a 350Z a good first car? Yes, it is a good first car, but what is bad about it being a first car? Well, it's kind of difficult to work on. In the grand scheme of things, it is a Japanese car though, so it is much easier to work on than something like a German car. So if you do plan on modifying it, it's going to be a lot easier to find stuff to help you modify it, as well as the fact that there's forums and forums full of information now about these cars. I made a video about 5 reasons to buy one, but this is should I buy it as my first car. A cheap drift car, a cheap track car, a fun daily. I think the 350Z scratches most of those itches. Since my last video on this topic was like a year old, I do want to update everyone on what progressions there is. One of the biggest complaints about a 350Z is that it burns oil. I'm going to make a separate video about this entirely because I personally have never, ever, not once had a problem with burning oil, and I have a 2005 DE motor. It is completely fine. I have no issues with it. I've heard so many complaints about it, but it has not bugged me once. The dipstick really sucks on these things though, so checking oil is a bit of a hassle, but trust me, I've spent the time, I've checked my oil. I don't really burn oil, so I don't see that problem. If you're looking at buying a 350Z, you're probably going to end up looking more at the DEs. The DEs are 2003 to 2005. They have a hair less power. They are known for their quote-unquote oil consumption issues. A couple of the years, like 2004, had transmission problems with the synchro going into 5th gear, I believe. But for the most part, they're pretty bulletproof cars. I really have never been broken down or stranded by this car once in the past like 2 years of daily driving it every single summer. So I still daily drive my car at this height, at this camber settings, whatever. It's completely reliable. I am not concerned about the engine in the slightest. Last year I talked about the community kind of being rough on people that are trying to get into it, but it's true for anything. Any game you get into, any hobby you have, there's going to be people that are not welcoming and stuff like that. But over the past year of doing YouTube videos and stuff, I can't begin to tell you how many amazing people I've met in the 350Z community that have helped me with personal problems, that have helped me with car problems, that have just been a friend to me, that have helped me with modifying it, knowing what next steps to take, helping me achieve my goals, find wheels, find offsets, find axle spacers, stuff like that. It is very accessible in the Z community. If you're thinking about getting a Z and you need advice or you don't know what to do, shoot me an Instagram message. I like to reply to everyone. I'm just a normal dude. I'm just trying to make friends with everyone, you know what I mean? I think life is way too short to be making enemies. So they're easy to modify, they're fun to drive. Usually they're manual. There is automatic, and I would really suggest you not get an automatic, and we just try to phase out all the automatic 350Zs into oblivion. The transmissions are highly recommended to people even swapping into like big V8 motors. The CD009 transmission is extremely reliable. The gearing is really fun. Second gear is so long, like people usually drift these cars in second gear for tandeming and stuff like that, and barely need to touch third because second gear is like a perfect gear for it. The only gripe I do have is I don't love the exhaust note on all VQs. It kind of is trombone trumpety. I don't love that. I actually only have an Axleback exhaust. I'm not huge on big straight pipes and stuff like that on a VQ. I'm gonna have to because I want to shoot flames eventually, but for now I'm really happy with my Axleback, and I don't think I'd change it until I have to, really, until I want to keep going. So fun, cheap, easy to find, reliable. I don't know, what more could you say? I cannot think of another car in this price range that makes 300 horsepower, is manual usually, and is so much fun. It really does not come by very often. If you're thinking about buying a 350Z, you should do it. It's a lot of fun. I love owning mine. I probably keep looking at that. That's what you're wondering. I didn't write notes to this video. That's also why I'm kind of all over the place. Usually I write notes and I have a little bit of a script I'll follow, but I figured this one I'd just do off the top and just give my advice on it personally, which probably has made this video kind of rambly and made no sense, but that's okay. So although I have deleted some of the safety features, as you can see I have an aftermarket steering wheel, so I don't have the airbag anymore. There still is an airbag for my passenger. The stock seats, especially the cloth ones, I love cloth seats. I'm not a huge fan of leather, but the cloth seats are super comfortable. I go on road trips in this thing and I do not get uncomfortable the whole way there and back. It's a fantastic car. I love the way the interior is laid out. It's simple, but it's complicated at the same time. Everything's where it's supposed to be. I love the way the dash cluster looks. It is telescoping and the gauges move with it. So I think that's super cool. I'm just a huge fan of the interiors on these cars. I think they're really well laid out. I do have a double DIN radio, and that was a really easy mod to do. That was just some wiring and like a little $10 bracket from Walmart. That turned out great. The stock speakers still sound great to me. Let's see. Now, one big con is that a lot of the interiors will get scratched up. A lot, and I mean like 95% will get scratched up on these little parts there. That'll get all scratched up, and the center console will be all scratched up. This is not something to really worry about. I know it's a very minor thing, but people have mentioned it in the past, and I think it is worth noting that they always get scuffed up and it's almost unavoidable. So I was just goofing around with it. I did like a gold, blue, and black base coat with like blue and gold flake on there. But it's really easy to take off. There's like one screw right there, and then I think you literally just pull the panel out and you can unplug the switches, and then it just comes right out. And this is, by the way, literally just rattle can. It took me like 2 days. I used some sandpaper, some filler primer, and then just painted them. Here's what the trunk of the 350Z looks like. My only complaint with this car, besides the little paint scratch stuff, is this bar back here. It sucks. It bugs me a lot. It really does take up way more of your trunk space than you would think, because literally everything has to go underneath of this now. I actually have subs that I've had sitting around and I want to put in this, and I can't find a box that's the right size. They make one that goes right here, but that only fits two 10-inch subs, and I have two 12-inch. The only other type literally takes up all of this trunk space for two 12-inch subs, and I haven't got them in there yet. With that being said though, I actually do manage to fit basically anything I need to into this car. When you roll down that passenger seat and pull off the headrest and push it all the way forward, push the seat all the way forward, I mean, I've been able to fit, I think it was a 4-foot by 3-foot painting in here, and I drove 6 hours with it in the car back to Maryland. So I guess the storage is not a huge deal, but it is kind of weird. Now this might shock you if you've never been in a 350Z before. You can't even really tell, but there is no glove box there. As far as things they provide on the passenger side here, for my model at least, I get a nice cup holder that actually does work pretty well. Sticky, but hasn't broken on me. And a little cigarette lighter outlet down there. I have a change dish, a little thing that would have heated seat switches, but actually makes for a perfect vape holder. Like a little cubby there. Here is 2 upper cubbies that you have. I put my registration in those usually. And this is your glove box. Don't ask me why they did this. I do not understand. But yes, this is your glove box. I don't even put stuff in there really because it's so useless to me. Mine also had this, which is kind of a cool extra thing. Or maybe they all come with it, but cool little Z bag. If you're like me, it is really aesthetically pleasing when they close and they look perfect like that. Same with these. I am a huge fan of that. This is not on all models. Some models do have built-in GPS here, but I have a nice little cubby, so when I'm driving I can just throw my phone up there and not worry about it. This is the cord that comes out from the back of my radio. However, it is USB Type-C, back from when I had an Android, and I just haven't changed it yet. So realistically, if I could go back in time and tell myself not to buy an old muscle car as my first car, and would I have bought this as my first car? Absolutely I would have. It is a fun car. It's not that expensive anymore, and I think it's totally worth having. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, things I missed, things I should have said, things I didn't say, let me know down below, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace!